These days, television is filled with real people, or at least non-entities desperate to become celebrities. But in 1973, when the phrase Big Brother made people think of George Orwell rather than Nasty Nick or Chantel, the closest most viewers could get to television was watching it. The only way of breaking through the screen and joining the fame game yourself was the game show.
Life is the name of the game, and I want to play the game with you.
It just captured the imagination of people because, of course, I think we all saw ourselves as trying to take part in it.
And I want to play the game with you.
Gentlemen, children, and welcome to the Generation Game. Nice to see you. To see you. Nice! 45 seconds to make a lovely poodle right now.
The Generation Game, which started in October 1971, was in two senses a family programme. It aimed for TV's Saturday night dream of being a cosy, roaring fire around which relatives could gather.
Let go if you haven't finished it.
But the families didn't just watch, they took part. 4 teams of 2, related but with different ages, tested memory and dexterity against each other.
Let's meet the 8 who are going to generate.
One of the main elements of the Generation Game was the idea of the competitors being family. You know, 2 like a mother and a son, or a father and a daughter. And that did actually strike a chord with everybody, I think. The way they behaved with each other and the way Bruce Forsyth exploited that situation.
Yeah, pretty good. All right, OK. You loved it. Take your hands off my pocket. Now you have about a minute and a half to make fools of yourselves, starting from now.
The programme relied on familiarity, catchphrases repeated each week, and 2 standout challenges, learning a new skill against the clock and a well-remembered test of remembering well.
Take the screens away. Jolly... It's all right. Nobody noticed.
Because of strict rules about the value of prizes that could be given away, the rewards were often a joke, so the show cleverly played the giveaway for comedy.
A potty.
A potty, yes. A big tortoise, yes.
The British sense of humour is that we laugh at ourselves. This is what we do fantastic. None of us really take ourselves too seriously. And the epitome of that, I suppose, is the conveyor belt. There is nothing worth having on there.
A cuddly Humpty Dumpty. Cuddly turtle.
Yes.
This handout of tat, presided over by a song and dance man, feels very British. But the Generation Game had foreign roots. Firstly, in a 1950s idea from American game show pioneers Goodson and Todman, Beat the Clock.
Beat the Clock. It was then incorporated by ITV into Sunday Night at the London Palladium when that came on as one of the absolute bedrock pieces when ITV opened in the mid-50s. And it was that element within the programme, run by Bruce Forsyth after Tommy Trinder had done it at the beginning, which became the most popular and probably the most remembered part of Sunday Night at the London Palladium.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Beat the Clock.
Now then, you have 55 seconds to beat the clock. Starting from now.
Whereas early American TV had its roots in movies, television in Britain, a culture with no Hollywood, grew out of music hall and theatre variety shows. The most celebrated example, ITV's Sunday Night at the London Palladium, which had 20 million viewers at its peak, saw the beginnings of Bruce Forsyth and the Generation Game.
When I was suggested for Sunday Night at the Palladium, the main worry was, could I cope with Beat the Clock? And I've always found with audience participation, you've got to enjoy it to do it successfully. So they said, well, let's sign him up for a month. Well, they signed me up for a month, and I stayed there for 3 years.
Hurry up! Over there! A bit of paper! Come on! That's it! You've won! Join us again next week, and who knows, it may be your time to beat the clock on the jackpot.
But before it defined 1970s Saturday night, Beat the Clock, having crossed the Atlantic, now travelled the Channel, inspiring a Dutch show, 1 out of 8. The Dutch capped the format by adding 4 teams of couples and a conveyor belt.
When I was watching it in Utrecht, I I immediately thought of Bruce Forsyth. And his career was not at a low, but he hadn't got a vehicle at the time.
Cotton took the concept of 1 out of 8 and regenerated it.
So stand by, studio, from the top in about 10 seconds.
Over the next 30 years, the treatment of members of the public by television would become ever more cruel, culminating in the humiliations of reality TV. But at this stage, the tone was merely teasing.
Bruce came out of that tradition of I suppose, a music hall, working men's club, and what he had learned, I suppose, was how to deal with people. And that's his fantastic skill, of course, and you see that in the Generation Game. The way in which he will kind of humiliate people, embarrass them, take the piss out of them.
You now do part-time sewing at home, and you're learning to drive, and your test was on the 4th of December. Oh, how'd you get on?
It was at 10:45 a.m. and I went at 2 p.m. in the afternoon.
Oh, it was in the morning and you went in the afternoon. Where do you find these people?
But of course, does it in such a way that you love him for it. So no one actually ever dislikes Bruce, even though he's getting people to do the most absurd and ridiculous things.
I am Shauna, I dance with the 7 veils.
She does more than that after 2 pale ales. But where you going, Ed? That's it, go on there, Ed. I like it. Look at her go. Go on, Ed. Let it all hang out. Look at this.
With that extraordinary mixture of jokiness bordering on contempt. I mean, sometimes he was extraordinarily rude to the people who did it, but in the most jolly, jolly way, so he got away with it.
Shut your face! Sorry. I forgot I had to be nice.
A show for competing couples also used the familiar light entertainment device of a boy-girl pair of presenters.
This is our gorgeous Anthea Redfern.
The relationship between him and Anthea was part of the show that was very attractive to the audience.
You've done it again. You've done it again. Yeah, it's worth a twirl. Really? Worth a twirl. Let's have a look.
And she used to give a very good twirl at the time.
One of the most important calculations with a long-running television format is how much to change from week to week. Forsyth had a brilliant instinct for repetition. On the Generation Game, he created phrases and gestures which were soon being repeated in pubs and on playgrounds across the country.
Nice to see you, to see you. Oh, didn't he do well, though? Oh, good game. Very good game.
And it's a frightening testament to how TV sticks in the brain. Even shows regarded at the time as pretty unmemorable, that we still retain them 3 decades later.
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen and children. Welcome to Strictly Come Dancing. It's nice to see you, to see you. Oh, didn't they do well? Yes.
1973 was a year of political crisis. Terrorist bombs, power cuts, and oil and petrol price rises caused by war in the Middle East. You might not expect to find such tensions reflected on this show, but Brucey was game.
Oh, hasn't it been a hard week? Oh, I've got 25 miles I've pedalled for 1 gallon of petrol.
Now the crisis hit television directly, with early close-downs imposed by the government to save energy.
And as TV is closing down at 10:30 at night, it could come to this. Match of the day.
1973 was when the Generation Game really caught fire, with peak audiences of 18 million, suggesting that it suited the mood of viewers on these tense, shortened TV evenings. Later, when television got back its energy, the Generation Game had shown a way ahead, emphasising the importance of Saturday nights as a viewing battleground.
The interesting thing was that the Generation Game was a jewel in the crown of Saturday night that the BBC had for a generation, really, of winning. And ITV used to win Sundays a lot of the time, and it suited them and it suited us. But we had a marvellous Saturday night.
Not bad, look at that!
Seen now, the Generation Game looks like a safe, cosy programme. But at the time, it had one startlingly radical element. The game show was the only genre in which people who were not members of Equity or professional presenters were regularly seen. The following year, Paul Watson's observational documentary The Family would begin what we now know as reality TV. But in '73, the Generation Game was as real as it got.